Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a Planet FPL Special, James. We are Wildcard.
You are assuming that everybody thinks it's morning or everybody's listening in the morning. I don't think that'd
That
be the
is
case.
true. Well,
Some
I just want
some
them to
idiots,
know that
some
we're
idiots
up
going to
early
play this
recording.
video at 20 to 7, aren't they? At night, UK time.
Yeah. You know what happens if you podcast with somebody long enough?
Go
Your
on.
wildcard cycles start matching up, James. And you and I are wildcarding at the same time.
Okay. Do you know where you are?
Yeah. I mean, I've known for a little while. There's only one decision I have to make, really. So yeah, I am sticking with the same goalkeepers that I already have in Mendy and Areola. I think Areola gives me good coverage for the FA Cup semis and what have you, if obviously Chelsea are not playing. But that game could get moved to midweek, right? So yeah, it's fine. But Mendy and Areola are fine. The reason I'm sticking with Mendy over, say, a Leno or a Loris, that you've mentioned, who's got a double, is I think he's the most reliable Chelsea defensive asset. And even then, I don't know if he, after last week, if Kepa gets a nod, but I think he's the most reliable Chelsea defensive asset. So I'm just stick with Mendy, and that's fine for me. Dallas and Diaz are the only two defenders that I'm carrying through. I mean, Dallas, I've got him at 4.5 million at the start of the season. He's an ever present for me since game week 1. So I'll stick with him. And Ruben Diaz, again, I just think he's the safest Manchester City defensive option. But then I'm going in with Trent coming back. Do you want to do the Darth Vader music or what?
Dun, 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 dun,
Trent, I
dun,
think
dun, dun, dun,
he's got a lot to play for in the last 8-9 game weeks getting into the Euros. You could see his satisfaction at the assist the other day. I think Trent's got a bit of hunger in his belly. Luke Shaw gives me Manchester United defensive coverage. I heard a stat yesterday on Talkshite, James. Since Harry Maguire has joined Manchester United, they are second only to Manchester City, both for goals conceded and number of clean sheets. Fun fact. So Luke Shaw's in for me, and then Rob Holding.
Big whoop.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're the second best defensive team since Harry Maguire joined. I think the debate they were having was actually more around people slagging off Harry Maguire, and he's like, well, has he improved Man United? Clearly he has. But yeah, so defensive Man United, I'm fine with that. And then Rob Holding at 4.2 is fine, especially for the next 2 game weeks. I mean, I'm playing him in the next 2 game weeks, after which I'll probably move him on. I think Masuaku I've got my eye on as an option there. My midfield is Lingard, Fernandes, Rafinha stay for me. Souček is gone now, and Diogo Jota comes in for him. And Kevin De Bruyne is in right now. Kevin De Bruyne I could easily sell for Heung-min Son, but that's mainly if I'm trying to forward plan for game week 32 for the double. Yeah, I'm bird in the hand versus 2 in the bush or whatever. I just don't know if whether or not I want to make that move this week, because you've got a tough fixture this week against United. And I don't have a transfer planned into game week 32 yet. So I could just make that move next week if I really wanted to. My front line's topsy-turvy now. Harry Kane stays. Watkins and Bamford are out. Income Kelechi Iheanacho. And last but not least, because I've got no money left, Matej Vidra. But again, both fine. I've got 14 what I would call starters there, with Vidra being the one that could get dropped at any moment. I've got the coverage if players get dropped. I feel comfortable. I also have a reasonable spread as well. No defensive double up. So I've got a spread across there. If I keep Kevin De Bruyne, it's a bit of a doubles act there, James. I've got double City, double United, double Leeds, and double City, United, Leeds, Liverpool doubles.
Some feedback.
Yeah, go for it.
Goalkeepers. It's fine, by the way. But the argument of Mendy's the safest Chelsea defender. Yeah, well, Leno's the safest Arsenal player. And Loris is the safest Tottenham player, and etc. etc.
I get that. Yeah. But I want Chelsea defensive coverage.
I think the only case where that isn't actually the case is actually Manchester United, where you've gone for like Luke Shaw, because there's obviously doubts about Henderson, De Gea, who I I don't think anybody would be considering. Surely not as
No.
part of their wild card. 2 Liverpool players.
Yeah, Trent and Jota.
You must have wanted 3.
Why?
Because everyone else is going 3.
No. I mean, yeah, but a lot of people, the third Liverpool player they're going for is Nat Phillips, mate. So
yes, true.
You know, Nat Phillips or you may as well pick Matej Vidra as your third sub. Nat Phillips, I'd like to see the Liverpool people playing Nat Phillips as well.
Have you looked at captaincy for upcoming game weeks?
Not massively, but I've got a number of premium assets here in Kane, Fernandes, De Bruyne, Diaz, Trent. Like between the 5 of them, if I can't find a captain.
Well, one of the reasons I asked that is, are you prepared to stick the armband on someone like Jota?
Yeah.
I'm going to get...
And not just Jota, like Newcastle next week, I'm prepared to stick the armband on Jesse Lingard, mate.
Yeah, no, I get that. Away to Newcastle, said that, you won't be alone.
I don't know if it's broken in the news yet, but I have seen our friend Antonio is out for a little while.
Mind you, everyone is going to be captaining Harry Kane next week, mate.
Yeah,
so.
That's true. Yeah, did you hear about Antonio?
No, what's the update?
This is for everybody, but I've heard on the grapevine, and I won't reveal the source.
We know where you heard it from.
Okay. I am told that some of the mainstream newspapers have the Antonio injury story. Will run it today. Press conference scheduled by the manager, so it will come up there. The fears are that he is out for 4 to 6 weeks, which, depending on the recovery, could extend to the end of the season.
I think with him, if he's 4 weeks, even to be honest, booking that in for 4 weeks, would be unlikely to play again this season.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. I mean, look, last game of the season, we have to beat Southampton to get top 4. Fuck it, flog him. But other than that, it just is not worth it.
While you're on it, look, it's your team. Does that put you off Lingard in any way?
No, it just makes him more of the focal point. What Moyes said after the game against Wolves was that Bowen, he was impressed with how Bowen played up top and might play him again. I think he was just saying that as a soundbite. I don't think he necessarily meant it as, all right, Bowen's the one that's going to go up top. I think
he will.
It's probably the sensible choice, but the way he lauded Bowen as, you know, he did really well, and if he plays like that up top, he can play up top, was more just bigging up Bowen's ego than actually thinking that. Because the problem is, we've had it in games without Antonio, we can't hold the ball up top. We have to hit teams on the counter. That's the only way we can score.
So his pace up front, mate.
But pace we have. Lingard, Bowen, Fornals, all of these guys. Pace we have. So, yeah, it's not put me off Lingard. I mean, he's 6.2 million. You can argue about that.
Would that make Bowen a late thought for people, do you think? Or is it just blindly obvious that former Lingard is too good? Go with that.
Yeah. Not for me.
What do you intend to do? Because I see you've got 0.3 in the bank. What do you intend to do if an Iheanacho or Vidra gets injured?
Well, if Vidra gets injured, I've got nowhere to go, because the next best priced forwards that are playing, and that would be a Callum Robinson at West Brom or whatever else. I mean, we're talking dross here, are 5.2 million. So I can't go from 4.8 to 5.2 with 0.3 in the bank. I will have to. I've got areas where I can downgrade to give myself money. Goalkeepers being one. So Areola at 4.5 is an expensive second goalkeeper. I can go to Fraser Forster at 4. Not that it gives me coverage, but it gives me £500,000. And I could downgrade one of my defenders. I mean, Diaz, Trent, Shaw. It's expensive at the back. So I could downgrade one of them to someone cheaper.
Have you considered that then, Forster instead of Areola? I'm just wondering why you wouldn't just make that saving with Mendy.
Well, what's the coverage issue that I have there? Explain it to me, because I don't have any clue.
there is no real issue.
Chelsea, is it just FA Cup final basically?
Well, it's Southampton are definitely going to have a double game week at some point, right? Mm-hmm. Chelsea do have a difficult, let's say, final 4. Now, Areola has 3 good fixtures in those final 4 is the case against. Mendy could land with a double. Areola's probably unlikely to land with a double. Southampton would have to reach the FA Cup final, really, I think, for Areola to probably land with a double. It's just a case of that there's 0.5 saving. The 0.8 would then allow you to get off an Iheanacho to someone who's 6.5 million or less. That's all. You probably find it's Chris Wood, and you've got Wood and Vidra though.
I don't have a problem with that, to be honest with you. I think that's a decent shout.
I'm not saying get rid of Areola for Forster, by the way, because I think because Chelsea have got that tough run at the end, you may well look at it and think, I'd rather have the coverage of Areola. But still, even when you get there, you're going to have some cojones to pick the Fulham goalkeeper over the Chelsea goalkeeper is the bottom line.
Yeah. I mean, look, we've got transfers to use between now and the end of the season, right? So that's what they're there for. Yep.
Should do mine.
Here's the thing, though, James, right? This week, you heard my team, right? I've got to play 4 at the back. I'm going to play Diaz, Trent, Holding with the Sheffield United fixture, and Luke Shaw. And then I'm going to play Son or De Bruyne, Fernandes, Lingard, and Jota. Then I've got Kane up top. So out of Rafinha, Iheanacho, and Vidra, who's got a good fixture against Newcastle, I've got to bench 2 of these bastards. So Rafinha against Man City and Vidra are probably the 2. But Leicester are playing West Ham, but I have bad memories of Kelechi Iheanacho because he scored plenty of goals against us in the past, mate.
So are you going to play Shaw, Holding? You're going to play them both? Shaw and
I'm
Holding
going to play both Shaw and Holding. Yeah, and Trent and Diaz. I think I'm going to play Iheanacho, And when we get to the differential show later, I'm going to predict Leicester beat us,
So am I.
I mean, it's everyone else is looking at it thinking, that's a bit obvious, isn't it, mate? But I never predict West Ham to lose. But
it's what I spoke about on Tuesday about they're going to give you different problems, I think. And I do think it will be Perez that probably plays in there, which actually tactically, I think it's probably going to give you a bigger problem than if Maddison played in a roundabouts way. I don't think they'll force Maddison into the team for this game, although he's someone I've really considered because I'd look at it and go, well, he'll be my sub this week. When it's a bench. See, when you're wildcarding, you are going to automatically, I think, give yourself some sort of benching headache when you come into the final running. When you do it earlier in the season, I think quite often you go, well, he's 3.9 now, I'll take him. Because of the blanks doubles, I think there's more consciousness of, I don't know how this is going to pan out. I want full playing players. So, I mean, the cheapest one you've got is Rob Holding. I've gone I haven't gone higher than that. I've got Nat Phillips. But my intention is to play him most games with what Liverpool have got, right? I'm not actually looking at him as fifth defender. I'm going, well, their fixture too good. I'm gonna play him. Shall I do mine then, mate?
Let's do it. So that I can tear mine up and just copy yours.
Yeah, okay. My wildcard draft, subject to team news, because we are recording this first thing on Friday morning, and there are a few things that could spook me that obviously change it. But if there's nothing in the team news that spooks me, genuinely, this will be what I'm happy with. This is what it will be. Goalkeepers, I'm going with Leno and Forster, and a little bit like your theory on Mendy, having considered Rob Holding quite a lot. I like the fact that Arsenal have 7 very good fixtures. I also like the fact of the defensive teams that I wanted to consider. I don't have a lot of trust in them in spite of how good the fixtures are. But Leno, if I look at it run through as a pair with Forster, if the fixtures kind of stay as they are, there's only one game I potentially wouldn't pick him, which is match week 36 when Forster has Fulham and Leno has Chelsea. He's a really good run of fixtures. He's not overly expensive at 5 million. And I'm put off by Rob Holding, you'll know, is the one I wanted as well. 4.2, I'm not arguing against it. I'm just looking at it, and I don't really want to take anyone who's a gamble, who I know I'm probably going to have to get rid of. And I can see David Luiz a roundabouts game week 34 giving me a problem when Arsenal were about to walk into fixtures with Newcastle and West Brom that I really like. So that's why I've decided to go Leno. Obviously, if I'm going to pick Leno every week, I might as well go with the cheapest one. And it does kind of work in terms of the fact that Southampton obviously could have a double in that particular week when they've got the Fulham fixture could become part of a double. The other fixture, interestingly, for Southampton is probably likely to be Liverpool. It's probably likely to be Liverpool and Fulham or Liverpool and Palace for Southampton to have a double in 35. Obviously, if it goes right at the end, he's 37, and it would be Leeds and Palace. In which case, then I think, yeah, I'd pick him over Leno if he's still in the team. He's obviously one, in my opinion, who's not assured to stay in the team. So I'm looking at it and going, right, if I'm pairing Forster with someone, am I happy to pick this other goalkeeper every single week? Yeah, look, I would stomach Leno against Chelsea and just take it for what it is if that's what proves to be the case.
Games like that are not often like crazy goal fests.
No, Chelsea
from time to time, but they're not often crazy.
Chelsea did not beat them 6-0 a few years ago.
I mean, it's rare though, isn't it? You'd expect a 1-2-1, 2-3.
Just trying to think. Last couple of meetings, Arsenal beat Chelsea 3-1 earlier in the season. 2-2 last season at Stamford Bridge.
Maybe I'm wrong then. But yeah,
I can't remember the game at the Emirates last year. Leno flapped and Chelsea won 2-1 at Christmas time. Defensively, there's only one player staying for me, and that's Ruben Diaz, a bit like yourself. I think you just have to look at his minutes and go, wow, look, he is playing nearly every game. And there's no doubt he's going to be left out at some point. But it's a case for me of managing the amount of City and Tottenham players I have, which I have to be cautious with because I've gone with 3 Tottenham players. Reguilon is in, having not gone with Lloris. News on Ben Davies possibly returning in the next week or two is the sort of thing that will spook me, and I'll make 3 or 4 changes to this team. I'll probably go back to Lloris and Sanchez and hold him. Is probably what I'd end up doing. Possibly Cedric as an alternative, actually, for Arsenal, if it was affordable. I've gone with Wesley Fofana of Leicester. It's a no-frills selection. I would have preferred to go to Pereira or Castagna. I can't afford it. So going with Fofana, I think for the foreseeable till Harvey Barnes stays fit, they're likely to stay with a back 3. They've obviously got brilliant fixtures from 32 to 35. Antonio Rudiger, 4.7 million. As Ted kind of highlighted on the COTC we did on Monday, that's the only one he's really thinking about. Look, if Azpilicueta is absolutely affordable for you, yes, he's a slightly better choice. But I think Rudiger's worth the saving if there's any doubt on that. Obviously, there was the rumours of the bust-up with Kepa on Sunday, which he said was nothing. Rudiger played in Seville against Porto as well in midweek. So I think he's part of that first-choice team. Yes, he's another one at some points. It's going to be rotated. But I'm not looking to hold Rudiger long. I think of these back 5, he's probably the one that would go first for me. And I've kind of penciled in to sell him possibly as early as game week 33 when they play West Ham, actually, which is kind of the beginning of a swing for them. If not, I don't see me holding Rudiger till the end because of that final 4 fixtures they've got. And the 5th defender, as I've already alluded to, is Nat Phillips. Midfield.
So that's Rudiger, Diaz, Phillips,
Fofana and Reguilon.
Okay.
Midfield, probably the headline is no Bruno Fernandes. I don't see... His ownership's obviously big. As always, I say with him, it's the choice. You either get him and you captain him most weeks blind. You either accept that you're going to be a little bit behind if you don't captain him on the effective ownership many weeks, or you swing against. And I think United have got enough tough fixtures to make me want to swing against, actually. So no Fernandes. I'm going with Salah and Jota.
Can I just point out for the listeners, you didn't own Fernandes anyway before. So there's not like a value. You did a while ago, but not
3-4 weeks ago. I sold him. Yeah.
So there's no, if I lose, get rid of him on my wildcard value conversation.
No, very true. Listen,
whereas I am having that.
If I bought him at 10.5, 10.6 or something, it would definitely be staying, to be honest, because he's too much built up. And with a player like that, there's always a chance you'll go, shit, I need to get him back. Even like for the last 2 fixtures against Fulham and West Brom, for example, Fulham and Wolves, for example. And
how many penalties does he want to score in the 90 plus something minutes?
I'll tell you what, he nearly missed last night. I'll tell you.
But, I mean, when I looked at it and it said 90 plus whatever, and Fernandes has scored a penalty, I'm like, well, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? This guy is just a machine. But yeah, okay, swing against. I get that. That's fine.
I'm going Salah Jota. I think it's important to have 3 Liverpool players. And for me, I just cannot justify the Trent Alexander-Arnold over Nat Phillips to then downgrade that money massively somewhere else. I think, like you, I'd end up with Vidra up front, which is not the worst thing. Like I've spoken about him saying, I think if you're going with a cheapie like that up front, definitely him. You wildcard straight into a good fixture against Newcastle. So I'm going Salah, Jota, go to 2 attacking players. I'm working on that basis that one of them should normally play, and I'm probably going to captain Salah this week, actually. Son is in. Lingard is in. And I'm keeping Rafinha.
Okay.
Rafinha, you're keeping as well, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
I look
Values. He's my new Suchek almost. You know, that fifth midfielder type situation that is just cheap and can pop off any time.
He's arguably too expensive to be that. But I look at the next few, City, Liverpool, and I go, it's an easy bench. I'll need him for 33 because of the blanks for Tottenham and Manchester City. And then the final 5 fixtures are really good. And I can see it being for me that I want him back in 34. So I'm kind of looking at it now and going, yeah, fine. If you return the next couple of weeks, fine. But you're going to be on the bench for me for the next 2 game weeks. I'm definitely going to want him at the end, I think. And I didn't want to go with no leads because the final 5 fixtures for them are really good, actually. And although you could say, oh, they'll be on the beach team, I don't see them changing the way they play. They just play the same all the bloody time, irrespective of opponent. So, yeah.
Every time they have this season, they've got fucked, haven't they? Pretty much. Quite often.
I didn't want to go with no leads, actually, which is ironic because I think most of us are looking to get rid of Bamfords, etc. I did consider keeping Dallas as well for the same reasons, but I think like I want to use Rudiger at the moment, and I can see that being a change for me. Is like Rudiger to Dallas in 3 or 4 game weeks time. Up front, Kane. Simplistic for me. Looking ahead, I think I probably captain him 4 times over the remaining period of the season. And I think Salah, I'm probably looking at 3 times and Vardy once. But that's very subject, obviously, to what happens with the blanks doubles of what's left. Vardy's coming in for me, and I'm going in Acho as well. So I have 3 Leicester.
So triple Leicester, triple Spurs, triple Liverpool. It's an all-in strategy, isn't it?
It is a little bit, yeah. There's 9 players there.
A little bit, completely.
You know me, I like to go for it rather than I'll have one player from 14 teams or whatever.
I get that. It's a different management style because you have now gone and plotted out what you're doing in the game weeks, who's got fixtures, who you can play. Whereas I've gone for a balance, which means I can adapt week to week, and so I don't have to overthink it. So yeah, it could either be there's a 54-point gap between us. I think either it will end the season as over 100 or it will end up as nothing, which because it could go one of 2 ways now, really, because we've only got 5 players out of 15 that are the same.
It's good.
Yeah, so I don't see it staying as a 50-point gap. I see either, your all-in strategy will bang and that's it. You're off and you'll be into the top 100K comfortably, or it won't. Now, the thing I've seen with your team, I don't really have an issue with the goalkeepers. I mean, Leno's fine. Your defense, you've got defenders there more than attacking defenders.
I'm aware, and I hate it.
Yeah. See, whereas I look at Luke Shaw, Trent, they're attacking defenders. I know Diaz, Holding, not so much. And Dallas is basically a midfielder at this stage, right? So, and Holding for me will go for Masuaku once we get past the Chelsea fixture. So, I look at that and I'm okay, yeah, fine, they're defenders. But then I look at the weekend just gone and clean sheets where you might have expected them. Everton at home to Palace didn't materialise. Leeds at home to Sheffield United didn't materialise. I don't see tons of clean sheets between now and the end of the season. Even Chelsea, thought clean sheet, didn't materialise. So I'm like, do I want to put my eggs in any defensive-minded assets? Not really. I want to try and bank on getting some attacking returns from those guys as well. You know, Fofana is the one that at the start of the season, I mean, the amount of chances he was having from set pieces and never scoring, and he's got to score at some point.
And I don't expect him to score. To be honest, I'm looking at him and going for those 4 fixtures Leicester have got. I'm in acceptance that I'm probably not getting any more than 6 out of him. I get that. Kasper Schmeichel was a real consideration for me, and I came to similar conclusions. He's not someone that really picks up the bonus and stuff, but actually You know, if you were saying to me, right, have a goalkeeper, no questions, would you have Schmeichel or Leno? I'd probably go with Schmeichel, actually, just because greater reliability on Leicester, and you've got that really nice block of the 4 fixtures. And when he does get bonus, he actually does invariably seem to be in some of the tougher fixtures. Like I think he got a 10-pointer at Tottenham earlier in the season, for example. Yeah, no, I am aware of that. The back line for me looks dull. I am absolutely aware of that.
But then the front line is power here. We've got Vardy and Kane and Iheanacho as a backup, because what I like is the inevitability that you've got there where one or the other will score. So inevitably with Tottenham, if it's not Kane, it's Son. I know not so much more recently, but it is quite often. The goal involvement for the two of them is huge. Salah and Jota. If it's not one, it's the other, because Mane hasn't been pulling up trees at all this season. If it's not Vardy, it's Iheanacho. So you're covering yourself off. And when you have double acts like that have such a high percentage of goal involvement, because remember, in a team of 11 players, if you get 6 returnees, you're happy, right? So that's half your team returning. So you're basically hedging your bets, one or the other, one or the other, one or the other. And you just want 3 other players to return. And quite often you do get an assist and a goal. So
to be honest, in those 4 fixtures that Leicester have between 32, 35, I wouldn't call it hedging. I'd call it, I'm looking for them both to go off like they did against Sheffield United, right? That's what you're really looking for. There's obviously been games where Kane and Son have both gone off together. So that's
but I'm looking at downside minimizing rather than upside chasing, let's say. And downside minimizing is one or the other. And upside chasing is like Spurs, like Harry Kane and Son doing what they do, goals and assists galore. So I don't mind that strategy at all. It's not for me. I look at it and I fully get the logic, and I look at it and it just, for me, is from my management style, doesn't sit in. 2 players per team spread across more teams I'm more comfortable with. There's definitely players you have in your squad that I'd like, with the likes of Salah. I'd never be able to afford Salah unless I made some real changes, and Vardy. But then you don't have a Bruno Fernandes or a Kevin De Bruyne, so or Trent or Luke Shaw. So yeah,
I would absolutely prefer to have Trent rather than Phillips. I'd absolutely prefer to have Pereira. I would have gone Pereira actually, because I'd look at it and go, yeah, I can bench him against West Ham this week. I would have obviously preferred to have Pereira. I'd a little bit short of going Castagna. If I had the extra 0.1, honestly, I would have spent a lot and gone Castagna over Fofana. Reguilon is the only Tottenham defender that I would consider. And obviously he is the one that's attacking. I don't want to be taking the chance over Cancelo at the moment. I don't think it's worth it. And I don't see me looking at Reece James, Chilwell or Alonso with any sort of comfort, when I know for me, I need these players to play in 33. And that's part of the reason. So I can see myself going like Rudiger to Dallas in 34 or 35, for example, to open that back up a little bit again for me. 33 at the moment. I've obviously got 4 outfield players from City and Tottenham.
So I've only got 3 at the moment. So.
And the thing is, I look at it, I think there's every chance that I get to 33 and I might keep all 4 of them and just go with 10 players. Because I look at it and go, do I really want to get rid of Ruben Diaz? And it's easy to say now, I want to get rid of one of the 3 Tottenham players. Sheffield United at home in 34. I might be better off just going, I'm going to go play a short this week. And that's something I'll think about. What I want to do transfers, and I think this is interesting where you and I differ on, say, Son. And I know Adam Hopcroft and Fergie were talking about this a little bit on the Green Arrow pod, is that the problem with Son is you don't really want him this week against Manchester United. Now, if Spurs do well, Son will probably do well, right? Because of the counter-attacking threat. Goals in the game are likely to come from that avenue, counter-attacks. But you could definitely live without Heung-min Son this week. You could obviously make a case to go without Harry Kane this week. And even like if you've got no value in him, and power into him next week. You are going to want the players next week for the double. It's not a bad double against Everton and Southampton. So I'd rather have it there, except that I don't particularly expect Son to return this week. I expect Harry Kane to return in every week. But you obviously haven't gone Son, but you're probably thinking of buying him this week. So you're on this kind of 1 week punt idea, I think, if you end up going with Son, with De Bruyne. And I would say for me, if I could captain any player this week, I'd go De Bruyne. So I completely understand the reasoning on that. Absolutely. But the issue with the 1 week punt is you've got to make the transfer. And if you make the transfer, you're potentially walking into bigger problems for 33. Now, I'm looking at 33 right now and go, if I make no transfers, I'm happy with what I've got. But inevitably, two things are going to happen. One, there's going to be an issue somewhere, be it an injury, a suspension or something. And two, more importantly, my opinion's going to change. We wouldn't, if we wildcarded in every single week, we wouldn't pick the same team all season long, would we?
No.
I've tried to get to a team. I'm looking at a team now, which I think if I didn't make any transfers all season and just left it dead, I wouldn't be that unhappy with it. In my mind, I've got planned, as I said, I want to move Rudiger on when Chelsea's fixtures turn a bit. And I definitely have no intention of keeping Vardy, Andy and Acho for Leicester's final three fixtures together, which is Manchester United, Chelsea, and then Tottenham. But I could get there and go, Vardy's in great form. I'll just bench Ian Acho because I've got a power 5. And then listen, when Leicester play Tottenham final day, I'll play both of them again, right? That's a possibility. So I'm trying to maneuver as little as possible. One thing I definitely want to do is ideally is get to game week 34 and only use one transfer before I get there. Because I don't have the information yet on the blanks and doubles and how it might look. So that's why I'm constant. I want to be rolling. I want to roll next week. I want to make one transfer in 33, and I'll definitely make one. I'm not going to just burn, because if I've got nothing to do, I'll sell Region probably or Son and then decide whether I want him getting back or not. You know me, I might be so fucking annoyed with Tottenham. I might just get rid of all of them, right?
Do you think, my question for you is, by the time we get to 33, do you think we'll know the layout for the rest of the season?
Don't know.
Because for me, the difference between you and me is I've got a free hit. So if I get to 33, I can, and we know that there's no real jiggery pokery at the end of the season with fixtures and doubles. I could power into Leicester at home to Palace, like Vardy that I don't own, for example. Liverpool at home to Newcastle, rather than have two. I can get Salah in for that. Villa at home to West Brom. So Jack Grealish might be fit by then. Who knows? Grealish and Watkins could be good shouts for that particular game week. United are away at Leeds. There'll be goals in that game, if nothing else. So if I wanted to go with Cavani, who I think is being overlooked at the moment. Now we know our friend Antonio.
Big differential shout out, yeah.
I like the look of Cavani potentially between now and the end of the season. So I could pile in that week on a free hit. But I'd only do that if I knew that there was no doubles lined up for the end of the season type situation, or any week that if you say the Southampton double happens or what have you, and I wanted to go Danny Ings or anything like that. So with the free hit, I'm fine with it, and I'll be all right in game week 33 at the moment as well. I've only got 3 players in Kane, De Bruyne, and Diaz. De Bruyne / Son. So I've got transfers to get rid of 1 or 2, and I'll be comfortable. But that is playing Vidra.
Away to Wolves. It's not the worst, is it?
It's not so much the fixture; it's does he play?
Yeah, for me at the moment with Vidra, at the moment he plays. It's just simple philosophy with Sean Dyche. If a player's playing well, we won't come out of the team.
Yep,
he's playing well.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. I'd like to leave my free hit as late as possible. But if I know between 33, 34 and 37, there's no doubles lined up, then I might use it in 33.
Well, it's definitely going to be doubles somewhere. Yeah, I mean probably. Well, actually, I say that it's not even a certainty. Well, no, it is a certainty we'll have doubles, be it 35 or 37. It's going to be some. We know that. Villa, Everton, Southampton are guaranteed to have one somewhere against. There's a few different teams actually Southampton could play as a second part. Technically, when they have played Liverpool in 35, afterwards they could end up playing Crystal Palace, Fulham, or Leeds. It depends what happens as the blanket of that. What you will get before 33 is a definite is you'll know the FA Cup semi-final results, and therefore you will know the FA Cup finalists. So where we know that Villa and Everton and Southampton Palace are going to be rearranged, you will at least know 2 more fixtures. And you might not know if it's going to be part of a blank or a double, but you're going to know what the problem is, right? And where that's, even if you don't know where it's going to be,
We can all just slip into Ben Krellin's DMs and ask him to figure it out. And I know you're going to figure it out too, but I'll speak to you every day anyway. So
I don't think we can. There's a few things I want to highlight. So
we can't slip into his DMs, or we can't figure it out.
We can definitely slip into Ben's DMs,
nice.
but Ben will be right either way, right? We can't tell you what's going to happen because we don't know. What we do know is, and this is probably more for benefit for those outside the UK, the vaccination program is going strong. On Monday, there's on April the 12th, there's different measures to ease in the lockdown in the UK. Now, I think if that goes off well in the first week, then the next scheduled one is, I think it's May the 12th, which is
17th.
Thank you very much, Suj. I knew you knew that, you bastard. You know when everyone's going back to work, that's why. So,
he ain't lying.
including me, hopefully. Studio. So they obviously want to, the idea is, and everybody knows this, move either match week 36 or match week 37 to the midweek after 37, so every team can play one home game in front of fans in the final week of the season. We do not even know which match week they'd move, because they could move 36 to after 37, or there is also a suggestion that they'll move 36 to 37 and move to 37 fixtures to the midweek. So even if doubles are created, and it's most likely to be 35 or 37, we can't even be certain of what they are. What I can tell you is the following. In game week 35, if that opens up to be a double game week, there are 7 teams who will not double in that game week. That's factually, I can tell you. Those are Burnley, Liverpool, Sheffield United, Tottenham, West Brom, West Ham, and Wolves. Those are the 7 teams. They will not, they can have a double in 37 if it becomes a big double where 12 teams have a double, but in 35 won't have a double because they have fixtures in both 36 and 37 that there is no way they'll get postponed for an FA Cup final. No way. Now, the issue with that is if you take me having Tottenham and Liverpool and having 6 players from those 2 teams at the moment, we don't know if FPL are going to move the deadlines or not. So we're assuming that if Villa Everton and Southampton Palace and the 2 fixtures that get postponed because of the FA Cup final slot into the midweek after 35, there is an assumption that creates a double in 35 where 8 teams will double. But I also think it's possible they don't change the dates and it just becomes blank game week 36 with those 8 teams. Now, those 8 teams are going to give me a massive headache if that's what happens. I think no matter how it panned out, I'd be getting to probably 6 or 7 players at the most. Wow. But the fixtures would be shite. So even if I highlight the potential doubles in 35, I'll go through these. None of these are great, which is why if you've got the triple captaincy, it's highly likely you're still going to be going on Harry Kane in game week 32. The small chance Arsenal could have a double would be West Brom and Chelsea. Villa are likely to have a double would be United and Everton. Chelsea would have Manchester City and Arsenal or Leicester. The best double of the lot would be Crystal Palace, Sheffield United and Southampton. Everton would have West Ham and Villa. Fulham could go in there if Southampton get to the FA Cup final. They'd play Burnley and Southampton, which would be decent. Leicester would be Newcastle and Manchester United or Chelsea. Manchester City would be Chelsea and Newcastle or Brighton. Manchester United would be Villa and Leicester. Newcastle would be Leicester and Man City. And Southampton would be Liverpool and one of Crystal Palace, Leeds or Southampton. Leeds could also have a double potentially if Southampton got to the FA Cup final. Did any of them doubles sound amazing for you for the premium players?
No, not hugely. No. But I think a lot will happen between now and then, and when we get to that point. And don't forget, you've got transfers. You can take hits and all that stuff as well.
So let me give you and this is something to consider. I've already said so. Liverpool and Tottenham. If there's, let's say, a blank game week 36 and there's only 8 teams playing, I've got 6 players from Tottenham, Liverpool. It's me, I'm in big trouble. unless I make further transfers. And I can't see me, if I get that far and Liverpool are still going for top 4, I can't see me wanting to do that. Tottenham, maybe yes, but decent fixtures as well, actually. But if Leicester lose to Southampton in the FA Cup semi-final, you can add another 3 players to that. Suddenly now I got 6. And actually looking at it, there is a case scenario where I could end up only getting to a blank game at 36 and I might only have 2 or 3 players.
So, listeners, we started the podcast with look at our wildcards. James now needs to tear his up and start.
No, I don't. Because let's
I'll show you my free hit.
let's say we have a blank game week 36. The most likely fixtures as it stands now would be Villa against Everton, Southampton against Crystal Palace, Manchester City against Newcastle, probably, and Leicester away to Manchester United.
Right.
What do I want to power into? Well, power into Man City, obviously. Leicester, I would have a couple if they get to the final. If they don't, there is an alternative possibility as well where it could be a blank game week and only 6 teams play. It's a small possibility as well if Southampton got to an FA Cup final. Which Southampton would then probably have rolling doubles, I think, of 34 and 35, or 34, 35, and then they'll play in the blank 36. So Southampton could suddenly come back round in interest. And I looked at several ways of trying to get Southampton players actually into the wild card and just say, all right, I'm benching them just in case that eventuality happens. But then I can't carry the Tottenham Man City players because Southampton don't play in 33 either.
That's a challenge.
And that's part why I've forced Forster in as well, right? So there's big problems that can come up with it. But what I've decided is if that worst case scenario happens and it's a blank in 36 and there's only 3 or 4 fixtures, I've only got 4 or 5 players, that's where the rolling of the free transfers is going to help me get something, primarily probably Manchester City players. But I could throw in 2 Man City players who might not even play.
That's the other challenge. We don't know what's happening with Pep Roulette. And I think that's the summary is play what you know, not what you might predict. Because so many times this season we've tried to do that and rotation and all of that winds us up. Listeners, if you've had a chance to listen to this show and you still have burning questions, 5:30 p.m. UK time today, which is Friday the 9th, get yourselves over to youtube.com/Planet FPL. James will be doing his deadline stream before the deadline. We've got Fulham Wolves tonight, haven't we? So we'll be a Friday deadline. Make sure you get in early because I can imagine it's going to be a busy one. And James does do the questions top to bottom. First come, first serve. So if you want to tune in, do that. And also, if you like that video, you'll get extra preferential love from us. It doesn't actually put your question to the top. I'm just trying to get likes on the video, James. Head in.
I don't know who likes it and who doesn't.
Exactly. But just do it anyway because you like us. And of course, play your own game, right? That's always the message to people.
Yeah.
Do it your way. As much as I listen to your strategy and I don't disagree and you listen to mine and don't disagree, you're going to do what suits you. I'm going to do what suits me. And that's what makes it fun.
One final thing to remember, if you do end up going into a situation where there's a blank game week 36 and there's only 8 teams who play and you've only got 6 or 7 players, remember the other 12 teams are going to double in 37. So it actually, in terms of if you put the 2 weeks together, I'm not necessarily losing out on the amount of fixtures I have. So I could then walk into 37 and sitting there ready with treble Tottenham, treble Liverpool, treble Leicester, all got a double and all looking quite attractive in terms of what Leicester's wouldn't so much. But Liverpool's and Tottenham's doubles, if it went that way at the end, would be. If it panned out that way and Tottenham did end up with a 37 double, it would presumably be Wolves at home and Aston Villa at home. I don't think that's better than what Kane's got in 32 for those thinking about triple captaincy. Bruno is a small chance it could work out as Leicester at home, Fulham at home. Doesn't appeal more for me. City, if they lost to Chelsea in the FA Cup semi-final, could, if there was a 12-team double in 37 at the end, would be Newcastle and Brighton away, which would be very attractive. We still got to get the City player that plays twice.
Indeed. Listeners, wherever you're listening to the podcast, whether it's iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify especially, make sure you hit subscribe so you know as soon as we push new content live. And if you're on YouTube as well, subscribe, notification bell, all of that other stuff. I mentioned earlier, obviously, James is live later on today on YouTube. But most importantly, enjoy your weekend and stay safe. Ciao for now.
I can't believe you didn't plug Patreon at all. After a podcast like this, I can't.
Patreon.com/Planet FPL. We'll be recording we do an additional podcast every day. If people are listening at this point and still don't know about our Patreon.
No, there'll be new people listening.
New people, head over to patreon.com/Planet FPL. And try it out. We do an additional podcast every day where we do kind of team reveals,
Monday to Friday,
or exactly, yeah, not weekends. James, there's additional written articles for the advanced tiers, little videos, news summaries, a Slack channel that's super active, all sorts going on, little Zoom meetups. Head over to patreon.com, give it a try. It's a rolling monthly, and if you like it, great, and if you don't,
piss off.
We're not for everyone. Yeah, we're not for everyone. Stay safe. Do you know the best thing about Patreon? Tottenham every Tuesday after Tottenham lose. James's rants. That's worth the £8 a month alone.
I will therefore end on this. If you've got any doubts about captaincy this week, don't hesitate to put it on Bruno.
Yeah. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck. Cue music, please, man child.